opening act. Jim Gaffigan. Okay, so before I start, yesterday I turned 65. So I'm going to ask you to, after I count to 3, I want you to say, "Happy birthday, old lady," in the loudest voice you can. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, old lady!
What a bunch of mean people you are to say something like that to me. Oh. Okay, anyway. My mother, size 8, hated fat people. So to ensure that she was miserable for the rest of her life, she married a James Corden. It also ensured that she was having a 50-50 chance of having a fat child. My brother came out the perfect Jewish American prince. 7 years later, out popped me. Clearly, my father's child. I was immediately put on diet formula, and my diet life began. So my mother, she hid sweets all over the house, which I considered a treasure hunt. In the freezer, she had these delicious cinnamon loaves. So at night, I would sneak into the freezer, and I would take out 2 slices, and I would push it together, and push it together, and push it together, until finally there was an end and 2 slices left in between. And I actually believed that she wouldn't notice, until I'd hear, "What happened to my cinnamon loaf?" What did she think happened to her cinnamon loaf? She was starving me to death. When I was 12, she sent me to my first fat camp. So I got there, and 2 days later, I started throwing up. And the counselor said, "You're homesick, just get out in the field and exercise." So I went out into the field and threw up until they finally took me to the doctor, who sent me to the hospital, where they took out my appendix. I wake up, there's my mother, and she's smiling. She says, you probably lost extra weight from taking out your appendix." I said, "Mommy, maybe if they cut off my leg, I would have lost more." A few days later, the doctor comes in and says, "Good luck, sweetheart, you can go home." I was thrilled. So my parents take me back to camp. Well, that didn't last long because I pretended to run away, and they made my mother come and get me, and my mother was pissed off because I fucked up her summer. And in the car she says, "What are you gonna do? Sit and eat all day?" You betcha. That's what I was gonna do. A few years later and a few pounds later, my mother took me to the dreaded diet pill doctor of Far Rockaway, who gave me amphetamines. A lot of amphetamines. I was the Energizer Bunny. And I lost a lot of weight, and I was close to goal. But my mother had already given a deposit for another fat camp. "Oh, you're going. And not only that, I'm giving you permission to smoke." "Mommy, I don't smoke." "Well, you're going to start smoking because cigarettes make you skinny. Look at me." So I lost the rest of the weight I needed to lose, and I became a chain smoker. And then one day, I was feeling particularly slim at camp, so I snuck off camp and I bought 5 Drake's coffee cakes. And I ran into my bunk and I started to devour them, and I got this sugar high. I love Drake's coffee cakes. And all of a sudden I hear over the loudspeaker, "Marla Feldman, come to the main office." So I bopped down there in my sugar high, and there's Selma, the director, with her gritted teeth, always gritted teeth. She says, "Go pack your bags. Your mother's on her way here to pick you up. You're thrown out of camp." I couldn't have been happier. And of course, there's my mother in the car, pissed off because I fucked up another summer. And then my weight went up and up and up, and my relationship with my mother went down and down and down, until 31 years ago, when my mother died. Shit happens. So, my father and I, God bless him, may he rest in peace, he says to me at the table the next morning after Shiva ended, "You know, now that your mother's dead, you don't have to go to therapy anymore." I said, Daddy, who are you kidding? I would need a lobotomy to get that woman's voice out of my head. So I went back to my therapist, and for 16 years I ranted and I raved. And finally, 14 years later, I lost 195 pounds. No. It's really not that big a deal, because all I had to do was have my stomach cut out. Nothing. It's the easier way. But now, Mommy Dearest, size 8. Size 6. Yeah. Eat your heart out. Thank you very much for listening.